Ladies and gentlemen, we are live pre-race edition on the channel of the NASCAR Fantasy Podcast. So we are live again because I could not get a video recorded with doing some recording elsewhere on NASCAR Chase for the Cup 2005. That premiere was supposed to be earlier today. My Wi-Fi stinks at work and I could not get the stream uploaded or the premiere uploaded. So what I'm going to do now that I'm home for the next couple days, I'll end up playing that premiere probably tomorrow afternoon. So you guys will be able to see that, and then we'll go live with our Coke 600 later on into the evening. So a double header, I guess, for you guys, even though I'm only actually racing once. But like, share, and subscribe for more daily NASCAR content. You guys came for Richmond fantasy advice. We have not too much further away from the start of the race. Going to give you these last-second Richmond statistics and fantasy analysis to set your fantasy lineups up. As usual, you can go to the NASCAR mobile app or website on NASCAR.com. Go to the fantasy portion of the website. After you do that, you can sign up with your email. It is free to join. Search for KRC League, KRC in all caps with a capital L on League. And you can join. Chance to win 2 tickets to any race of your choosing for NASCAR in 2022, excluding the Daytona 500. So we already have a regular season winner, a regular season champ. So let's see who will win the playoff series championship. We only have 9 races to go on the season. Second race of the round of 16 of the playoffs is tonight at the Richmond Raceway. And as I mentioned, we will be going through the fantasy advice here last second. The race is at the bottom of the hour. We'll be doing live commentary of that when the time comes. But for right now, let's set our lineups. So as usual, we start off with the don't haves. And actually, because I didn't get a post-race analysis out last weekend for Darlington, I pretty much kind of talked about the race throughout the course of the live streams we had during the week on the NASCAR video games, but I'll just talk briefly about how the predictions went from last week before I roll on to this week's predictions, because I pretty much nailed it right on the head for most of the predictions last week. I'll start off with the sleeper picks, because I nailed both of these. I said that both Kurt Busch and Ross Chastain, were both going to get top 10s last week. Chastain had one of his best performances of his career, finishing in third. Ran in the top 10 pretty much all day long, but he really had a strong car in that final stage. Kurt Busch was in the top 10 all day as well. He ended up finishing 6th in the race as well. So good for him. Nailed both those predictions. As far as the must-haves go, I did have Kyle Larson. He ended up contending for the win, as I kind of assumed he would. Ended up finishing 2nd. Another one of the must-haves was Kevin Harvick, and he ran top 5 most of the day. He started in the top 5 in stage 1, then kind of fell back to like 10th or so in stage 2, but by the end of the race, he ended up getting back up to 5th, finishing in the top 5, scored a lot of stage points. So 4 for 4 for the predictions up to that point. And then my race win pick, unfortunately, Kyle Busch had trouble earlier on in the race. I believe, let's see, was it stage 1 or stage 2 when that happened? It was stage 2. Yeah, beginning of stage 2, where Kyle Larson had kind of chopped down on Austin Dillon. He didn't have him clear. He ended up spinning out and getting into the wall. On top of it, ending his day, he is actually just below the cutoff line going into tonight's race at Richmond. So no need to worry, Kyle Busch fans out there, because 2 of his best racetracks at Richmond and Bristol are the next 2 races. I think he'll be all right. He just can't afford to wreck again. He wrecks again, he's going to have to win one of the other races. If he just gets to the end of the day, just has 2 solid top 10s, which you know he can do at Richmond or Bristol, he's going to be having himself an easy pass in the next round. Plus, with 16 drivers in the playoffs, it's very likely, especially 2 short tracks, that we're going to be seeing some more drivers have problems today and tomorrow. Maybe not as many as Darlington last week, but I think there could be a couple of drivers that run into issues, and that could help him out eventually as well. Alrighty. And then the rest of the predictions from last week would have been, so as of right now, I would have been 4 for 5 on my predictions. Kyle Busch, my race win pick, ended up finishing 35th. But outside of that, the other 4 I predicted correctly in the top 10. A driver I predicted correctly to not finish in the top 10 would have been Christopher Bell, who finished 20th. He had a very, very rough day. He led some laps in there, but that was because he tried to stay out of the pits a little bit longer than everybody else. That's why he had 10 laps led. With the strategy they were going on, I'm not sure what exactly that was for. They were only losing time when they did that. They were basically just trying to catch caution at an opportune time, which they did once, but they still ended up finishing the lap down at some point later in the race. That long green, well, not the long green flag run to the end. It would have been the long green flag run to start the final stage, but then that last caution came out with like 43 laps to go or so, and that ended up ruining his chances. He really fell off the pace during that uh, long green flag run stretch where we had 2 green flag pit stops in that stretch as well. So 20th place finish there. That made me 5 for 6 on the predictions. The only 2 predictions I had wrong were the other 2 don't haves that I said would not finish in the top 10 of Brad Keselowski, Joey Logano. Logano finished 8th. Keselowski finished 7th. Now I will say, at least for Brad Keselowski's sake, Keselowski was outside the top 10 all day. The only reason he finished there is because stronger cars ahead of him like Kyle Busch, William Byron, Chase Elliott, they all had issues. Even Alex Bowman was in the top 10 early on. He had issues. Ryan Blaney had issues. He spun because of a brake failure. He was in the top 10 all day. So, that's 5 drivers that were in the top 10 ahead of Keselowski and Logano. Now, I will say, though, for Joey Logano's sake, he was in the top 10 more often. He ended up scoring stage points in both stages, so I was completely wrong on him. Keselowski got a little lucky. And that's kind of the luck he's going to need if he's going to make it into the round of 16. He was one of my drivers who were going to be right on the bubble at the end of the round of 16. In fact, he was probably one of the last drivers that would have expected themselves to point their way into the round of 12. And sure enough, he's kind of on pace to be in that round, in that round, but on a slim margin as of right now. So that's just the quick update for what happened last weekend. But now we're sorry, I had to refresh my chat. I didn't see you guys in there. Dark Crypto, Dodgers and Harvick fan, Patrick Shadley, welcome to the stream. What to do with Kyle Larson, failed inspection again. I did not see that. So I just got off of work and got home like a little over a half hour ago. So I am a little behind on like exactly where everybody is starting here. Kyle B is in a good mood right now. Just did his interview. Well, it's because the race hasn't started yet. And there was no practice or qualifying, so he really doesn't know how his car is going to handle. No, I think he'll be fine. I don't think he'll have an issue missing the next round of the playoffs. He's just too good at Richmond and Bristol. He was really good at Darlington, too. That's why I picked him to win last week. But he's too good at this racetrack to have another really bad performance. Putting Hamlin, both Kyles, Harvick, Blaney in my lineup. Not bad, but not great either, and I'll tell you why. So now into the long-awaited predictions here at Richmond tonight. I only have 6 drivers for the talking point, and these 6 drivers, 2 are don't-haves. And these first 2 drivers are drivers you should not have in your lineup tonight whatsoever. I do not want to see, if you are in my fantasy league where I can specifically click on your name after the race starts and see what your fantasy lineup looks like after the race started, I do not want to see these 2 drivers on your fantasy lineup. I'm going to start off with one which may surprise you, but again, I like to say I'm an unbiased fan when it comes to NASCAR. I'm a huge Ryan Blaney fan, but I'm very unbiased when it comes to predictions and what I actually think is going to happen. I don't let my heart get in the way of making my predictions, and I'm going to say that Ryan Blaney is going to have himself a rough night tonight. I mentioned it a little bit last week. These are his 2 worst racetracks in NASCAR, period. Darlington, Richmond. He got Darlington out of the way. He was very fortunate to score a lot of stage points, really exceeded my expectations going in, but ultimately still had a 22nd place finish at the brake failure. So not good there. He has never finished in the top 10, though, at Richmond. At least Darlington, he had 1 career top 10. 10 career starts at Richmond. No top 10s for Ryan Blaney. Interesting fact as well for Blaney. Remember, the stage racing started in 2017. He has only scored stage points once. One stage. And not like throughout the course of a race. Once. Like, out of 16 possible stages, stage 1, stage 2, 16 possible stages, he's only finished in the top 10 once out of those possible 16 stages. That's alarming. That tells me he is likely not going to score hardly any stage points tonight. And he's going to finish outside the top 10 as well. He could still get stage points like he did last week at Richmond if he does have the car, just because he is that talented. But at this racetrack specifically, it just doesn't seem like luck has been on his side. It just doesn't seem like he knows how to drive this track very well. They give him the car. It seems like the car is ill handling, but a lot of that when you have no top tens at a specific racetrack, it has to fall on the driver to a certain extent. So Ryan Blaney is one of my don't haves tonight. I don't think he should be in your lineup at all. What are they doing? Larson's car, they got them starting at the rear. Yeah, I have no clue. I just got home like a half hour ago. I didn't even know he was starting at the back until Patrick stated so in the chat. Oh, why? Yes, I just stated why. That is why I don't have Ryan Blaney. What does garage mean in the fantasy live thing? It basically you pick 6 drivers. You want to pick that garage driver. You have until the end of stage 2 to lock your lineup. Whoever your like starting 5 are at the end of stage 2 are the ones you're actually going to get points for, and the ones that are actually going to get your usage taken. If you have a guy in your garage at the end of stage 2, he will not get scored points, and that driver is not going to be used at all. So you'll still have your extra usage of him because you wouldn't have used him, say, tonight if you don't choose like last week. Kyle Busch wrecked in stage 2. I took Kyle Busch out of my lineup because it was before the end of stage 2. Put him in the garage. So I didn't get scored points for him, and I got to keep that extra usage with him for the rest of the playoffs. So that's basically what your garage driver can be used for. Or if he doesn't even like wreck out, you just have that one driver that's a little bit off compared to the other 5. You can swap them out. So definitely makes you have to like watch the entire race to see exactly how they're running. So again, Ryan Blaney, my first don't have tonight. No career top 10s. Only one finish inside the top 10 in a stage out of 16 stages between stage 1 and stage 2. And even if you want to count stage 3 because he has no career top 10s, that means in 24 possible stages, if you include stage 1, stage 2, stage 3, he's only finished in the top 10 once. It is not good for Ryan Blaney at Richmond. This is by far his worst racetrack. And Darlington's a bad track for him too, but not this bad. Chase Elliott is the next driver I have on my don't haves list. He will not be in my fantasy lineup tonight, and I don't think he should be in yours. Richmond is one of his worst racetracks, at least statistically. This is actually his worst racetrack in the playoffs, the current 10 tracks we have there right now. 3 top 10s and 11 career starts at Richmond. Yes, better than Blaney, but not good by any means. In fact, he's only got 2 top 10s in the last 6 races on 750 horsepower ovals this season as well. Let me pull up his stats real quick because I was just looking at that earlier to kind of back up the fact that he hasn't been running great at Richmond. 1 finish in the top 10 in the last 4 Richmond starts and 11 career starts at Richmond. And he's only got 3 top 10 finishes. And as far, again, this season, his last 6 finishes on 750 package ovals, which is the package we're running tonight, would be 31st at Darlington, 18th at New Hampshire, 39th at Nashville, a 3rd at Dover, 7th at Darlington, 12th at Richmond earlier this season too. So he didn't even run so hot at Richmond earlier this year. So those are his last 6 finishes on 750 package ovals. So it seems like the 550 package, and I've kind of noticed that this year, is the package where it seems like all 4 Hendrick cars are pretty fast, or majority of which are really fast and have race-winning speed. It seems like the 750 tracks, you got Kyle Larson, Bowman sometimes, not all the time. Like last week he wasn't really there, but earlier in the season he was there. And Byron's kind of hit or miss too on the 750 ovals. And so is Chase. And Chase has been all right on the 750 ovals, but not in the last 6. So Chase Elliott, Ryan Blaney, those are 2 drivers I think you should stay away from tonight in your fantasy lineups. You get 5 usages for the playoffs. Maybe you used one of those guys last week, and you definitely should not use them again or at all this week as well. Moving from that onto the sleeper picks, as we already only have 9 minutes before I have to go live for the next race. My goodness, this has flown by. So here are two sleeper picks for tonight's race. I have one playoff driver and one non-playoff driver, just like last week. We'll start off with the non-playoff driver. I think this is the most obvious non-playoff driver you can have as a sleeper pick, a potential garage pick, if you will, and that would be Austin Dillon in the 3-car. He's got 4 top 10 finishes in the last 5 races at Richmond. And remember last year, which was the last race that we ran at the nighttime at Richmond, he finished second in both stages, led 55 laps, and ended up finishing the race in 4th. One of his better performances all year, excluding his win at Texas he had last season. Earlier this season at Richmond, he ended up finishing in the top 10 as well, finished in 8th place, if I remember correctly. Let me pull that back up just to fact check myself real quick. I know he had a top 10, but I want to make sure 8th place was exactly where he finished. 10th, sorry. He finished 10th earlier this season, but still had a top 10 run. And again, he's had 4 top 10s in the last 5 races. There's really no other non-playoff driver that's got anywhere close to that good of stats at Richmond. And even some of the playoff drivers have way worse stats at Richmond, like Chase Elliott and Ryan Blaney. This is definitely Austin Dillon's best short track, and maybe his best track overall on the circuit in recent years. So I think Austin Dillon is a very good sleeper pick. Another sleeper pick who I think could be a potential good pick for you guys on your team tonight. Maybe somebody you're probably not going to use much in the playoffs anyway, so you probably might as well use him today. I'm going to say this guy, and it may surprise you. Eric Almarola has very good stats at Richmond, and he's got the stats this season, believe it or not, to back it up. Eric Almarola this year in 2021 only has 3 top 10 finishes. But in those 3 top 10 finishes, they all came on 750 horsepower racetracks. Specifically, the 750 tracks that are ovals. And more specifically, 2 of which were at flatter racetracks like Richmond. Nashville was the other top 10 he had. And, of course, his win at New Hampshire. He ended up finishing at 6th earlier this season at Richmond, so he had a good run there earlier this year. As far as his total Richmond stats go, Eric Almarola has 3 top 10s in the last 5 races, including a top 5 in the fall race in 2018. So I do think that Eric Almarola will get a top 10 tonight. It'll be his 4th of the season. And if he does end up getting that top 10, he has a very good chance to go into the round of 12. I know he didn't run well last week, but he got bailed out considering there were 5 playoff drivers who did not finish the race behind him. Or finish the race behind him, so he's already ahead of a couple guys in the standings, and I think he did score stage points too before he really fell back late in the race. So Eric Almarola, he gets a top 10 tonight. He's going to have a double-digit points cushion going into Bristol for the cutoff race, and I think he'll do that. And again, I think Austin Dillon will also get a top 10 finish tonight. Now, I see you, Dodgers and Harvick fan. I saw you in the chat earlier. I shouted you out. I was just a little late on it, that's all. All right, now into the must-haves. Before we roll on into the live race commentary tonight, these are 2 drivers you should absolutely, without a doubt, have on your fantasy team tonight, and I can tell you already they will be on my team. These are far and away the 2 best drivers at Richmond in recent years, and we're going to start off with the guy who won last week at Darlington, Denny Hamlin. Hamlin coming off his first win of the season. Again, it was at Darlington. He led over 100 laps in the race and pretty much dominated that final stage. Well, not only that, but Denny Hamlin, in his Richmond stats, let's even look back to earlier this season. He led over 200 laps in the spring Richmond race this year. And on top of those 200 laps led, he ended up finishing a very close second-place finish. We had a late race caution and restart with about 7 laps to go, where Alex Bowman was able to get around him on the restart, hold him off, and win the race. Well, I think Denny Hamlin's got a very good chance to run very, very well tonight. He's also got 2 career wins at Richmond. They were a long time ago, though, in 2009, 2010. But he has a lot of recent success. Mentioned he led over 200 laps here earlier this season and had a second-place finish. Well, also, he has won the last 3 stages at Richmond. That would include both stages in the race earlier this season, and he also won Stage 2 in the fall race last year. His other Richmond stats would include 9 top 6 finishes in the last 11 races. So in the last 11 Richmond races, Denny Hamlin has finished 6th or better all but twice. So Denny Hamlin is a solid lock for me to be on your fantasy team. and I think he's got a chance to win and go back-to-back here tonight. The guy who I think will challenge him in my actual race win pick, though, is going to be his Joe Gibbs Racing teammate. I'm going with Martin Truex Jr. to win tonight at Richmond. Martin Truex Jr. has 2 wins here, both a lot more recent than Denny Hamlin. He swept both races in 2019. His last 5 finishes at Richmond, all inside the top 5. 5th earlier this season, 2nd, 1st, and 3rd. He led over 100 laps in the spring Richmond race earlier this year, but remember, he had a pit road speeding penalty. Still came back in the final stage with the pit road speeding penalty to get to 5th. I think he had the fastest car in the field that wasn't Denny Hamlin. And I think he'll have a very fast car tonight, considering that 2 of his Richmond wins have come in the nighttime. This is a night race. Earlier this season was a day race. The 750 package has been working wonders for Truex this year. All 3 of his wins have come on 750 tracks. And also for his other Richmond stats, he will score stage points tonight. I can guarantee he will score a bunch of stage points at that. Get this. Martin Truex Jr. has finished in the top 3 in the first 2 stages of the race 9 of the last 10 times. That means stage 1, stage 2, last 10 stages, he has finished in the top 3 9 times. That is ridiculous. That just means he's up front and stays up front at Richmond. Even if he's not leading laps, he's in the top 3 quite often. So I think he is a solid lock. And again, he is my race win pick tonight. So Martin Truex Jr. is my pick to win. I have 5 predictions correct so far this season. I'm looking for my 6th. Last year I had 9. There's only 9 races left this year. I'm running out of time to try and beat what I did last season and try to get to 10 wins this year. But I do have confidence that I have picked the right guy tonight. And I had a very solid week in fantasy last week. I ended up leading the league by like 30 points. And not only that, like overall, like all however many 100,000 people actually play this online, I think I was like 20th and or tied for 20th, whatever, because I was only 20 points off of the top scorer last week as well. So I had Kurt Busch, Truex, Harvick, Larson, and Hamlin. All 5 of those drivers finished in the top 6. And I think Hamlin and Truex are going to have great nights. I mentioned the sleeper picks. Not going to give you guys the full team, so you can't copy it. And I am staying away from Ryan Blaney and Chase Elliott. Should I have Keselowski in the fantasy lineup? Keselowski's not a bad pick. It's just he's been so inconsistent this year. That's the only thing. It's like the 550 tracks and the 750 tracks, it kind of doesn't matter. It's like he can run top 5 one weekend and then finish 20 at the next. Like there's just no consistency with him on any of the packages, any of the style racetracks this season. The only consistency he's had is being terrible on the road courses. But outside of that, like the ovals, it's been really hit or miss for him this season. He's been kind of up and down. He's definitely got the potential to run well tonight, but he is definitely not a lock for my fantasy team either. Thinking of swapping Larson to Martin Truex Jr. for win pick. Not be bad. I think Larson is a good pick, but if he is starting at the rear like you guys have told me, that's going to lessen his chances. But I will say that shouldn't hurt Kyle Larson. The one silver lining of that, though, Kyle Larson does have 1 career win at Richmond, but he actually finished 18th earlier this season at Richmond. Richmond was actually one of his worst races in the regular season this year, 18th, and finished, I think, 2 laps down in that race as well. So again, Larson's not a must-have this week, but he can have a good night, kind of like Keselowski. But yeah, Martin Truex Jr. is my win pick, and we'll see if I get the prediction right. I was way off on my prediction to win last week, but like majority of the other predictions surrounding the fantasy side of things, of the don't-haves, the sleepers, and the must-haves, I only missed 2 of them. It just sucked that my win pick was Kyle Busch, and he got knocked out of the race because he tried to chop off Austin Dillon in the first half of the race. Then he didn't really have the speed that Hamlin, Larson, and Truex had last week either. I think he can definitely see those same 3 battle it out for the win again this week. Have him as a top Chevy. Yeah, it's not bad, not bad. I need to finish getting my lineup here. As I do that, I'm going to get the next stream pulled up and get Hulu logged in onto my TV and onto my laptop. So like, share, and subscribe for more daily NASCAR content. That is the race. That is loud. That is it for the race preview the pre-race predictions for tonight at Richmond. Hopefully, you guys enjoyed the race. Tune in right here on the channel. I'll be doing live commentary. We'll have the stat cast on there as well, keeping track lap by lap times, position order throughout the course of the race. It'll be a lot of fun here tonight once again. You don't want to miss it because this is the second to last Cup race I'll be doing these streams and the fourth to last race total this year I'll be doing streams because I still got to get out to 2 more races this year. And I mean, the other 3 weeks that I'm not going to be streaming, I'll probably be at my grandparents watching the race like it was last weekend. So like, share, subscribe. I will see you guys very, very shortly.